Okay, so I just hit record now, so what you just said isn't going to be in there.
I know that.
Okay, so this is going to be the new intro, because it makes you look silly.
I'm so silly, guys. I right before he hit record, I said, hello, spooky bitches. I didn't realize he wasn't recording. So, hey, spooky bitches.
Hi, everyone. That's a new voice you haven't heard before. Who is it? Well, stay tuned and find out.
Or you can find out, like, right now.
Yeah, because
I can introduce myself.
We don't have commercials or anything.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's just listening to this and is very confused, this is the feature-length podcast, a podcast where people, I don't know, normally 3 people, but not today, talk about movies and stuff, normally for the length of a feature film. This is a special... I just coughed because I just had dinner. Anyway, this is a very special episode of the podcast where I am joined by a special guest. I believe she is my girlfriend.
Joke's on him. I've been getting paid this whole time by his mom.
That's really weird.
To hang out with you, keep you company.
No. Yeah, so this is Madison.
Okay.
This is my girlfriend, Madison.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today, Jasmine?
I don't know how they respond to that.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's
either.
just like awkward music.
Yeah, I don't know.
So.
Fair enough.
I'm good. Oh, God.
Yeah, so if you couldn't tell, this is going to be a fun episode because we're actually in the same room, which means we can, like, talk over each other, and there isn't going to be weird lag issues, like with every other episode we've ever done. So this should be a good time. So as you can probably tell by the title of this episode, something that we have been very interested in talking about forever is...
Forever. Since the dawn of time.
Yeah, since the dawn of time, is Halloween spooky horror date movies. So just to give some context... For some reason, and I don't really understand this reason, there just seems to be a general understanding that there are spooky Halloween movies / horror movies that are, like, good for dates. And for some reason, a lot of time, like, when you have this significant other, you end up watching spooky Halloween movies or horror movies. And I don't know why, but this seems to be, like, a common theme among most people that we know. I feel like whenever I talk to anyone in a relationship, and if they've watched a movie, it's normally... like a horror movie or a spooky Halloween movie. I can't explain it.
At least like on a first date or something. I feel like that's a desirable first date movie genre to watch. Horror, because then you can, I don't know, do the cheesy moves like, oh, I'm so scared. But not me, I'm a bad bitch.
Yeah, true. The first movie we ever saw together was actually a horror movie.
Yeah, but we were with like a large group of people.
Yeah.
But we just sat next to each other and had that awkward tension the whole time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it really added to the tension in the movie plus the tension in our just interpersonal relationship really added to the whole experience.
I think so too. I'm glad we're on the same page about that. So this should be a fun episode, and I think the goal here is going to be to talk about that specific sweet spot of movie that you can watch and it's enjoyable, but there's just something particular about like a date night horror movie. So for example, let me get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Like later on in this podcast, one day, I'm going to do an episode with Dan and potentially my friend Angelo, who you guys haven't heard before. But he's an interesting guy. And we are going to talk about the Friday the 13th movies, right? Mm-hmm. So Friday the 13th doesn't fall in this category, I don't think. Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't think falls in this category.
Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like slasher movies like those don't really fall in this category. Yeah. They're just, like, personally for me, like, too, like, gory and, like, jump scary for a, like, date night movie. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, the movie's got to have some substance to it. Usually, like, a love interest, a love story, like The Boy, which we're going to talk about later. There's some love there, I guess. But yeah, like those slasher movies that you watch with Angelo, you should do a separate episode because they're not specific to, like, date night.
We are, yeah. And I also think something interesting to point out is to what you were saying, and I think a lot of the movies... I mean, we don't have a actual list. I have some movies in my head.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
We'll go down. But
it's just a casual episode today.
Yeah,
guys.
it's very casual.
I didn't have anything planned. I had a test yesterday, and then we're recording the podcast today. So my priorities, unfortunately, were elsewhere.
Yeah,
but I'm horror movie self-proclaimed horror movie enthusiast. So I always have them in the back of my mind.
Also, to be clear, I've never prepared more than this for any episode of this podcast. So you're totally fine. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Everything that I have in my head falls into the category of, I would say, spooky as opposed to gory.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, even just my sweet spot of favorite horror movies, it's never the gory ones. Like, I'm not a big fan of, like, what are those ones where he's got the mask on and he has to torture them?
Oh, Saw?
Saw, yeah. Saw, no, not for me. Mine are, like, the ones that make you feel very uncomfortable without having to do much.
Yes.
Other than Midsummer, which I gotta talk about. You haven't seen it, but
sure.
That one makes you feel uncomfortable by doing a whole lot.
Yes.
But not super gory.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It depends what part of the movie we're talking about, because there is some nasty parts, but...
I also have one pretty gory pick, but it's super rare. I feel like most of what we're talking about it's more about atmosphere. You know what I mean? When you're sitting down with a significant other in October, you're looking for atmosphere. You're looking for a lit candle, a relaxing time,
a caramel scent.
So yeah, some candy apples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you want that spook, but you don't want to throw up. That's I think what we're getting.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to like upchuck the candy apple.
Exactly.
You want to digest it fully.
And
then digest the movie as well.
Exactly. You said it best. That should be a pull quote on every horror movie box.
You'll be able to digest the movie as well as your food.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
Okay. Yeah, you start. I don't know what direction you're heading, so you just pick our first.
You gonna finish that sentence?
I was gonna say like discussion point, but that doesn't make sense. So the first movie.
Yeah, so the first movie. So the first movie is, I think, a common one that is on everyone's list. It is the quintessential, whether it's a first date, whether you've been in a relationship for 10 years, it's the perfect Halloween spooky movie, which is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, so a little sad story is that Marco and I we're not those people that like grew up with it. We weren't like diehard fans since childhood. We actually saw it recently, last year, to be specific. We saw it for the first time last year. We fully expected it to be disappointing because if you don't grow up with a movie and you get into it later in the franchise, I find that it just doesn't hit the same. You know, like I never grew up with watching the Star Wars movies, so if I tried now, I don't think it would feel the same.
Well, I mean, I'll still make you, but...
Yeah, eventually. I've been putting it off for 4.5 years successfully so far, so let's see. Actually, 5 years, so let's see how long I can go without seeing them. But, yeah, so Nightmare Before Christmas, we expected it to be kind of, like, childish and silly, but it ended up being a movie that we really looked forward to watching the following October, which is this October, and we've kind of decided that it's going to be a tradition now to watch it every October, especially with his siblings. He has 2 younger siblings, and it's just really funny watching it with them. And you got to have the whole experience. We have always got a candle lit. We've got, like you said, the candy apples, the caramel corn, popcorn and stuff. So, but yeah, do you have anything you want to say specifically about that movie?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Is like, and maybe this can segue into a topic about Tim Burton in general, which is Tim Burton movies for me are all about atmosphere, and I love the way they feel, and I love the way Nightmare Before Christmas feels. But to your point, I like watching it after we have been out and active and busy.
It's
and
easy.
We're watching with a group of 5 people, and we can just go in and out of watching, because let's be honest, that movie... Why is he the Pumpkin King? What does that mean?
Oh, yeah, that's something we have to decide.
Listen, can someone just email me and explain to me what it means to be the Pumpkin King?
So, from my understanding, because he is not an actual king, obviously, he's also not the mayor, because there is a mayor. So, is he just popular? Is he just, like,
the royal family?
Famous, but, like, also has no, like, legal powers or anything of that sort? He's just liked by people, and they named him the Pumpkin King? Or did he proclaim himself to be the Pumpkin King?
And here's the other thing.
He's a skeleton, first of all.
He
wears a pumpkin head, but he's a skeleton, so it's not like he's even a pumpkin.
Yeah, he's not even the Skeleton King. No, he's the Pumpkin King, but he's a skeleton, which is weird messaging. And then also, like, he lives in a castle, and the mayor, like, answers to him. The mayor shows up to him and is like, "Hey, Jack, what are we doing?" And Jack's like...
He runs every decision by him, although he's not part of the government.
At all.
Whatever their town government is.
I don't know. And then he comes back from Christmas Town and he's like, "That's it, we're doing Christmas." And everyone's like, "Okay, master." And I'm like, what is this relationship? Like,
the mayor's face just switches to the stressed out one, and he's like, "Okay." I forgot his name.
So many questions. I have so many. But this is, for me, right in that sweet spot of Tim Burton of... Don't even pay attention to the plot. You know, when This Is Halloween comes on, when What's This comes on, you pop in, you enjoy the music. Other than that, it's on in the background. The visuals are great. It's an entertaining watch. There's some funny moments. Funny enough, Sally is voiced by... I can't remember the actress's name. It's, what's her name from Schitt's Creek? She's a really famous kid. Oh, Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, yeah.
Which I didn't know, which is hilarious.
I know, like, the cousin of Catherine O'Hara.
Really?
Yeah, my mom's best friend, her niece... This is going to get way too confusing, but basically, my mom's friend's niece was the niece of Catherine O'Hara.
Can you hook me up with meeting her?
No.
Okay. That's okay. Anyway, but so she's great in it. Although Sally is a very weird character because
I love her.
No, she's great, but what I mean is like she keeps poisoning her owner.
Oh yeah, wait, can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can.
The second time we watched it, I noticed that. I was like, she keeps giving him his soup or whatever slop he eats, and he will drink it and then be like, you poisoned me again, girl. And it's like, okay, so do you not understand what learning is? Because if she keeps giving you this poisoned meal every time that you keep going into your deep slumber for however long, and you keep accepting the food from her, that's just honestly a mistake on your part. Like, she's doing nothing wrong at that part. You're just stupid. Mm-hmm. So that's also the nod to like Rapunzel. Is it Rapunzel where she's like locked up in a tower?
I mean, but isn't that every princess?
Yeah, it's pretty much. Fair enough. And then one thing I wanted to say is that Tim Burton's actually a genius for Nightmare Before Christmas because it is very Christmassy, but it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Like, he still has the spookiness and the Halloween vibes that kind of negate, is that
yeah, I guess that's right.
Like, negate the Christmas part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see all the other holiday towns, though, like Easter Town and...
That would be fun,
in the forest, the trees. Yeah.
A few other things just to point out before we move on. One interesting thing to talk about is the fact that... Did you just die? Is that what just happened?
I dropped my water glass. I dropped it on the table.
Okay. One interesting thing to talk about is that the voice of Jack Skellington, like who does the singing, there's two voices. There's his voice, but the guy who does the singing for Jack is the guy who wrote all the music for this movie named Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman is a very famous composer. He did the music for the Batman 1989, which is the best Batman movie score of all time. Like, start to finish, that album is just incredible. He also did the music for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which is amazing.
Superior.
Yeah, and he's just done a bunch of stuff. He's a really great composer, normally of like really intense things. So it's just funny to me that he's the guy who sings like, "What's this? What's this?" It's like it's just silly, and it's just a funny like insight thing for me. Other than that, I don't know if there's much else to say about Nightmare Before Christmas. It's good.
I think it is. One thing I will say is that it honestly is a little bit scary. Like, I was a little bit shocked by, like the creepy ghost children. Oh no, wait, I'm talking about Coraline.
No. Well,
what on earth?
But there's also people in Nightmare Before Christmas. There's those creepy kids.
Oh yeah, there are creepy things in Nightmare Before Christmas. You know what? I would totally which is a good segue because I wanted to talk about Coraline.
Can I say one more thing before we? I'm gonna derail your segue for 1 second. Because you mentioned something disturbing about Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that the plot of this movie is that Jack Skellington is depressed. Like, that's literally the plot of this children's film is that this king of Halloween Town is so depressed and is so over his life that he tries to convince everyone else to now do Christmas as like this fun thing, which is like a really weird... it's just not like the plot of a kids movie.
But kids movies do have disturbing things all the time. Like, I don't think I've seen one Disney princess movie where the parents don't die tragically.
Yeah, I guess.
Like in Tarzan, they get eaten by a lion or was it a lion?
It's like a tiger. But I guess the thing that's different about this though is that like in all the other movies, I feel like it's always an external threat. Like, that's the bad guy. What's so weird about this is that it's this children's movie that's dealing with, like, specifically a mental health issue.
Right.
It's way more internalized and it's way more conceptual. Woke. Yeah, it's super woke. Anyway, but so you were like brought up Coraline. I think that's a good place to go, probably.
Yeah. Coraline. So I made Marco watch because I've seen Coraline many times in my life, and I don't think you ever have.
No, right? I hadn't.
So I forced him to watch it. Him and his siblings again, and I love that movie, just not even because of its like pure beauty, but also like it genuinely is a scary movie. Like I'm a horror movie fan, and there are creepy parts that I was like, genuinely, if I watched this as a young child, I would not have been able to handle it. The children needing to find their eyes and like all that stuff. And even the mom, when she like transforms to her spider form at the end, it's like, holy shit, I would have pooped my pants if I watched this.
I like how you said shit and then said poop your pants.
I needed to add variety.
Yeah.
Diversity. Yeah, because when I was little, here's a little side story. My mom took me, I was very little. I don't want you guys to think this happened when I was, like old enough to tie my shoes. So my mom took me to go see Monsters, Inc. at the theaters. Mm-hmm. And the very first scene where one of the guys is practicing scaring children, and then the kid in the bed pops up and he's like a dummy. When that happened, I ran out of the theater screaming. I ended up running into the bathroom and vomiting into the toilet because I was so petrified. And then my mom came in and I was crying, and the theater people were really nice. They gave us like free movie tickets for the next time we came or something. But yeah, like I can't imagine if my fragile self watched Coraline as a child, I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it. But it is really enjoyable now. Like even just, it's stop motion, right?
Isn't it? I don't know if it's stop motion.
Or just made to look
yeah,
stop
that's
motion.
what I'm saying. I can't remember. I know now they have technology where you can do like stop motion looking things, but it's not actually stop motion.
Because isn't Nightmare stop motion?
Like Nightmare is it's
okay.
stop motion.
And Coraline's much more modern, right?
Yeah, so it's probably not. But yeah, to your point, like I was shocked watching it, because we'll talk about something else later. I was a little disappointed by it, but oh my god, she just rolled her eyes at me. I'm sorry, I didn't like a movie.
Criticize Coraline.
I'm not going to criticize Coraline. I was shocked that it is so good, and it's like not to be divisive, but it's basically the same. I guess with overall feeling of Nightmare Before Christmas, but if it was actually like super, like the story of it was well made and for adults, you know what I mean? Because Nightmare Before Christmas ultimately is a kids movie,
right,
that I need to kind of phase in and out of when I'm watching, and I can enjoy the parts that I enjoy. But Coraline is like really intense, and it has a real interesting story behind it, and I think it falls right in that sweet spot we talked about of it's spooky. It's not going to ruin your life, but it's just spooky enough. And also, it's such a beautiful looking movie. Mm-hmm. Like, the animation is so specific and beautiful looking. And
that's what I said earlier, too, is, like, there's romance there. There's her and YB developing that, like,
true,
she hates
yeah.
the frenemy at the beginning, and then she ends up, they end up close friends or whatever it is at the end. I don't want to, like, romanticize these two children's relationship. They were probably just friends, but you get the idea. And another part that shocked me that I don't really know how to lead into, but I'm just gonna state it, is the scene where the two older ladies are putting on their play, and one of them is like fully naked, like just her nipples are covered. And I know it's animated, but still, like as a child watching that, I would have been like, what are those? You know, like it just opens up this awkward conversation if you're watching it with your kids. So I definitely do think it's more geared towards like a more mature audience. Just because I kept putting myself back in the shoes of like my 10-year-old self, like I would have been shocked. It would have been blasphemy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think I would have liked it as a kid either, but like now it itches that thing. It's not too long. It's not like I guess a quote unquote adult movie where it's like a feature length.
Right.
It's like it's an animated movie length. It's relatively short. But it hits all the things that it needs to hit.
Yeah. Storyline's interesting.
Storyline's very interesting, and it's beautiful to look at. And it's great. Fair enough. Do you want to go next, or should I?
I would like to take a moment to. Well, you know what? I'll talk about Midsummer really quickly, just because you haven't seen it, but I just would like to talk about it. But I need to make you watch it.
Okay.
So Midsummer, as I'm sure everyone has heard of, was even nominated for Oscars a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
I had not watched it when it first came out because I didn't really want to go see it in the theaters. I was waiting for it to come out on a streaming platform, and then it came out on Amazon Prime TV. So I watched it by myself. Actually, it was like I have this very strange memory of it being like the very first week of quarantine, and I was laying in my bed and deciding what to do. So I was like, I'm going to watch Midsummer by myself in my room alone at night. And I did. And it's not that Midsummer is scary in the typical sense. It's just disturbing. Like, it's very much like if you want to sit and think about the movie for the next week, then you can watch that one. Because it's really, really bizarre and creepy. And the more you think about the movie, the more little things you realize. Like, for example, so they're basically on this, like, retreat to some village where they're doing, like, a spring festival kind of thing. I guess it's like a Nordic. It seemed very Nordic. I'm not sure exactly where it's based. I've only seen it once, so I don't know any of the super minuscule details. But so they're there for this festival, and like one of the scenes that you don't really realize until after watching it and thinking more about it is there's this one girl who's trying to make one of the guys that's visiting fall in love with her, and she puts her period blood in his drink and her pubes in his meat pie.
Oh, God.
And, like, in that scene, you kind of get what's going on, but when you think back, at the very beginning of the movie, they kind of pan over the one of the little houses on the farm thing, and it has, like, a big poster, hand-painted poster about, like, that type of, what the heck is the word? Like, not spell, but... like
yeah, I can't think of the word right now
God,
either. It's okay, I know what you're talking about.
Ritual, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
So you see, like, the animated pictures of, like, the period blood getting put in the drink, and so you make those connections, and it's just the more you think about the movie, the more you can spiral, because it's just so bizarre and disturbing. But Florence Pugh is just the absolute best, honestly. She's like the Meryl Streep of our generation, I feel like.
That is high praise. Oh, my goodness.
It's a bold statement, but I stand by it. Like, I think that she's incredible in every role she plays. She's so convincing. Because she did that. I think she filmed Midsummer and Little Women in, like, the same year or something. Which is just two complete opposite vibes. But she's incredible. So, yeah, I need to make you watch Midsummer. I know that my friend Andrew watched it, and we've talked about it briefly a few times, and about how we just can't stop thinking about it. You really got to, like, detox from it for the next few weeks and kind of run through your thoughts and let it dissolve, because it is pretty disturbing and just very unsettling. Like, even the fact that the sun never sets, like, fully, because they're up in some Nordic place, and even at 10 o'clock at night, it's still sunny out, and so it's just very uncomfortable. And those are the kind of movies that I like, the ones that make me feel uncomfortable, not the ones that are like jump scares and blood and gore, like I said.
Right.
But yeah, so Midsummer's great.
Sticking with...
yeah, Hereditary.
Yeah, because Ari Aster, director of Midsommar, actually directed Hereditary first, which is probably my favorite horror movie of the last 10 years.
It's definitely, like, I feel like modern horror movies have been declining in quality, because how can you beat the classics? But this... Hereditary, it was like a cultural reset, if I do say so. Like, it really put horror back on, like, a new level, like, definitely a modern level, and
where it can be treated seriously again. Yeah,
it definitely is not like your slasher, your goofy,
spooky, like blood, demonic. Yeah, like, it's
breathing over the phone. Like,
yeah.
But what were you gonna say about it?
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I think that for me is right on the line, because it is genuinely scary and a really well-made movie, but it doesn't necessarily have, like, fall Halloween vibes to it. Yeah. So it's kind of on the line for me, but in terms of watching it as, like, again, like if you're going to go down a list of movies to watch during October, I think it should be on there. I think it is, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like Halloween, it has the properties that we're talking about where it's not ridiculous. It's a little ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous, but, like, it's spooky in the right way. It's spooky in the, like, tone and the vibey way.
Just, like, unsettling.
Yeah, and if you've seen it before, like, I mean, the first time I would genuinely pay attention to it as an awesome horror movie, but if you've seen it before, then it is something you could go back to, and again, like we're talking
notice
about,
the
like,
smaller details.
You can notice the smaller details. You can go in and out. If there's something that really bothers you, you can fast forward through it. But I think it works as pick, so that's really good.
Yeah, that movie, we actually, funnily enough, watched it for the first time together with my brother on, what was it, Easter? It was Easter
Thanksgiving.
of... Thanksgiving?
Pretty sure it was Thanksgiving, which actually works, because, like,
No,
for
I
us...
I thought it was Easter. I thought it was like a holiday that did not make sense to be watching it.
No, I'm 99% sure it was Thanksgiving.
Well, I'm 99.9% sure it was Easter.
Well, I'm 50%
Anyways,
sure.
we'll fact check this after and get back to you guys. But we watched it during a holiday that just didn't really make sense, and it was almost just funny because we were all so shocked. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into because, like I said, horror movies have been kind of on the decline of quality of recent years. So we didn't really know what to expect, and it was pretty much amazing. Like just unpredictable to every part of it was unpredictable, which I feel like that's the major thing that makes horror movies hard to make special, is that they're all very predictable. They all follow the same kind of format. You can predict the jump scares. You can predict, like, don't go in that room. I know he's in there. Why are you running upstairs instead of out of the house and down the street? That kind of thing. Like, this movie just was disturbing and unsettling and uncomfortable. And, like, I thought about the scene with her head getting knocked off and him just silently crawling into his bed at night with her still in the car and having to, like, face his parents.
Yeah.
I thought about that for weeks.
Yeah.
Like, even now to think about it, it's, like, so upsetting, but, yeah. Everything about that movie's unsettling. Even him in the class where his arm shoots up.
Oh my god, yeah.
Ugh. Like, how do they do that?
Crazy
and then it
times.
ends up getting a little silly at the end, personally, like with the floating bodies going into the treehouse or whatever it is. Like, that's not my vibe, but it was still, like, I get it. Like, I get that it was, like, some ritual with the Latin devils or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Speaking of predictability, the most unpredictable horror movie you and I have ever seen. And this is our origin story. We should share this. Yeah. I don't think we've ever...
And you know what? I want to preface this by saying that this movie does not get enough hype. I still, to this day, stand by it being one of my favorite horror movies. And it's like an underdog. You know, I've never really heard anyone talk about it. And it deserves more hype.
Here's what I'd say. I'd say 95% of this movie is like every horror movie. But the last 5% is so ridiculous that it puts it in another category for me of, like, it's so just, like, what and funny that you have to go along with it.
Yeah, I'll retract my earlier statement. It definitely is. If you don't know the ending, you're going to be like, what were they talking about? Because it is very much typical doll horror story.
Well, so let's not spoil anything. I want to, like, we'll put a break in here.
Okay.
For people that... maybe want to see it without being spoiled, actually.
Right. I mean, we've spoiled all the previous movies, so I apologize if you haven't seen any we've talked about so far.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I'm assuming... Whatever.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, we haven't even mentioned the name of the movie. The movie is The Boy.
The Boy.
This is our origin story. Prior to us dating, we were just hanging out, and... I don't know if we were at Tim's studying, this is back when we were in university, whatever, and we were hanging out, and our friends texted us saying, hey, we're going to see this movie tonight, it's a horror movie, do you guys want to come? And you said sure, and we went, and it was the first movie we ever saw together.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about earlier when there was that weird tension.
Yeah.
We were sitting next to each other, but we were with a group of people, and we weren't actually dating yet,
yeah,
so it was
weird.
all the, like, will they, won't they?
Mm-hmm. And we will. But also... Spoiler. Yeah, so The Boy... I don't want to... You know what? I don't even want to spoil it.
I want to spoil it. I want to talk about it.
Okay,
here's what we'll do. Spoil it.
So here's what we'll do. If you don't want to be spoiled, just trust me, this is the most ridiculous plot twist of all time.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be spoiled, I will put a time code in the description, which means I'm going to have to go and edit this now. Thank you. But I'll put a time code in the description to skip ahead to the next topic, okay?
Okay.
That's what I'll do. Okay. Spoilers. This movie is about a girl living in a house with a doll.
No, so... Okay, you're wrong. It's about a girl going to babysit, take a nanny job.
Yes.
For this couple.
Yes.
And she finds out that the nanny job is for a doll.
Yes.
And the parents are acting super sketchy the whole time. She feels like a little bit weird. Which, first of all, why would you take the job? Like, I don't care how good the money is. If there is an elderly couple that is acting the way that they were and having you be a nanny to their doll, run. just run. Like, horror movie people are the stupidest people on earth, because
Yeah.
why any normal person in that situation would run? Especially because when she's there and the parents are like getting ready to leave on their quote unquote vacation, the dad, doesn't he say something? He whispers something into her ear. He's like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
still stays. She's like, her blood pressure didn't rise at all. She was just like, "Okay, see you guys. Thanks for the job." So
Complete
very stupid.
idiot.
Yeah.
So that's the basic premise, and what we find out is that obviously they leave. She's living at the house with this doll, and weird stuff starts happening
With the doll.
And 95% of this movie is a kind of classic horror movie thing of, is this... Oh, we should mention, the reason they have a doll is because their kid died in a fire.
Oh, yeah. So they say their kid died in a fire, and they use the doll, I guess, as like a coping mechanism to pretend that he's still alive.
Yes. So 95% of this movie is a will they, won't they of, is this all in her head? Is the weird stuff in her head? Is it a psychological thriller, or is the doll possessed?
It could be that, or are the parents playing a prank on her? Like, you really don't know.
You really don't know, but you kind of get the vibe that it's going to be either possession or psychological, and they're really drawing it out.
Yeah.
Until about 15 minutes before the movie ends.
Oh my god, can I talk about this part?
Sure.
I really need to. So, right at the very end of the movie, her like psycho stalker ex-boyfriend comes to the house that she's nannying at, and there's like a big fight scene. It's all very chaotic. The ex-boyfriend smashes the doll, which is, we're like, okay, if this is a possession, like whatever spirit was stuck in that doll is gonna come out now, right? Or whether maybe it was psychological and now she's gonna snap back to reality. Like it
snap back to reality. Oh, there
goes
goes gravity. Okay, go on. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's like, it was very much like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen? There was a pause. There was a lot of rattling around the house. The walls were shaking. We were like, okay, so it's gotta be like supernatural or possession, because the house is shaking. We can all see this. Everyone could see it who was in the room. And then the biggest plot twist I've ever seen in a movie happens. Something comes crashing through one of the mirrors in the room that they're standing in, and we see this big burly man crawl out of the mirror with like a doll's like porcelain face mask on, and he's talking in like a baby voice, like basically he's Brahms. So all this fighting goes down. He's trying to protect her because clearly he's in love with her, his nanny, and there's a big fight scene. Doesn't he kill the ex-boyfriend?
Yeah.
And then he's trying to kill her and the housekeeper or the grocery guy because
he's like the new boyfriend, I guess.
Yeah, new boyfriend. So Brahms is jealous, whatever. So basically, long story short, we find out that he's been living in the walls of the house, like in the basement, in the walls, whatever, and like watching her. And like he has all these strict rules of like, kiss me before you put me to bed. And he's been watching all of this go down. So what we don't know is like, did the parents know that he was still alive and living in their walls, and they thought that the doll was possessed by his spirit? Because the parents go and kill themselves. That we didn't mention. They leave on vacation to go kill themselves. Clearly because caring for this doll and the human man living in their walls is a lot of work. But we don't know if the parents knew that he was living there, or if they knew it and they just were like sick of his shit, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
We don't know if they thought the doll was possessed or they knew kind of what was going on, because they claimed that Brahms died in a fire, but clearly he didn't, because he's been living in the walls ever since. And maybe they were ashamed to show him to the town.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then so he asks her to kiss him goodnight, and she like stabs him. Anyway, so the movie ends basically with him repairing the doll, so clearly he didn't die. And I think there's a second movie that came out, right?
Yeah, there is. We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it, and it's because I don't want it to be ruined. You know, the first movie was good enough.
Nothing can recreate the magic of being in that movie theater when a man comes out of the wall, and I swear to God, everyone in that theater had either a scream or laugh reaction of just like, what the actual hell is happening? Like, where did this come from? Because the other thing too, like to your point about we don't understand if the parents know or not, the way the movie's written, like it seems like it's written this is supposed to be such a big twist
Yeah.
that it's not even written to make sense at the beginning. The way the parents act doesn't even necessarily make sense compared to what the twist is, which is part of the reason why when the twist happens, it's like, what the fuck? Like, what even is this? But that being said, like, it just hits every time that twist because it's so ridiculous that it goes all it goes all the way around to the other side of being enjoyable and like a good watch.
Even just like the cinema of it was great because like, you know, it starts with the mirror crashing and you're like, okay, you know, that happens in horror movies about possession all the time. The mirrors shatter, the windows shatter, whatever. But then you see the hand of him kind of like curl around the door and you're like, okay, so is it a ghost? And then the full-grown man comes out and you're like, oh shit, he is here to fuck shit up. And he ends up making like a wig out of her hair.
Oh
and,
god,
like,
it's so gross.
So it's very like pervy, very creepy, but just done very well. Like I remember laughing so hard when I saw him come out of the mirror because I couldn't have predicted it if I tried.
No, if you sat me down like 5 minutes before he came out of the theater, if you had pulled me out of the theater at that point and said, Marco, how is this movie gonna end? You have 10 options. That wouldn't have been on the list.
Yeah.
Not even if you gave me 20 options, it wouldn't have been on the list. Like it was so out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. Like I had a great time with it.
Me too. Yeah, I couldn't have predicted the end. I'm looking up his name because I forget his name. If I were, what's his name? Who's the guy who can see the future in the Marvel universe?
I don't.
Shit. Yes, you know.
Who?
You dressed up as him.
Oh, Doctor Strange?
Yes. Oh my god, I could not remember that for the life. If Doctor Strange went through millions of possibilities that could have happened at the end of that movie, I don't even think that would have been one of them.
No, yeah.
It would have been like...
Yeah.
But it was... And just like, I feel like just being in the theater too for those kinds of situations amps it up even more. Like every time we've gone to see one of the main Avengers movies in the theater, just like the reaction of the people in the theater mixed with the shocking stuff that's going on the screen just makes it even better. So it was a very like memorable experience, not even just for the movie itself, but like our personal lives. Like, it was a very monumental, like kind of like our first date, I guess.
But, so maybe we're hyping. I don't know. Maybe people will watch this and not have the same reaction. But
I said, when you build that like emotional connection to a movie, sometimes people don't get it because you have to have that. But I think honestly, like, in and of itself, even just objectively, even just reading the script, basically, it's a shocking movie and very, very good. We haven't seen the sequel yet because I personally don't want to ruin it. Like, I don't want to see him still be alive and like fucking with someone else. And I also don't want, like, I feel like it was good by itself.
Yeah, me too.
I don't like when sequels, like, for example, Doctor Sleep was different enough from The Shining that it didn't ruin The Shining. You know what I mean? Like, but if it were to lead straight off, like, it just wouldn't have.
Like this time, Danny is grown up and he's taking his family on a vacation, and they go to a different hotel, and then he says, "Here's Danny" instead of "Here's John." Like would have.
Here's Tony.
Oh my god, Tony!
Where's Tony? He never comes up.
I mean, those of you listening to this probably listened to our last week's podcast where we talked about The Shining and Doctor Sleep. Just to be clear, I need to reiterate, I don't understand Tony. To this day, I don't understand Tony.
So Tony's like, I guess, the voice in his head as a kid, but then he never comes up in the second movie.
It's so funny.
At all, right? Like, we expected
there's one line of dialogue, but it's not like... They don't explain Tony. They're just like... He just references Tony at some point.
Like, why is he named Tony?
I don't know.
Like, why Tony? If you have a voice in your head, wouldn't it be like Esmeralda or something?
Why is it Tony? Why does it sound like a mobster?
Yeah, it's like Fred. Like, this creepy voice that's telling me scary things that are happening to children is named Fred. Like, Deb.
Okay, so this will be anyone who's just skipped this time code. This is post spoilers for The Boys.
Yeah.
Just to really quickly touch on, because right at the end there we were talking about The Shining.
Oh yeah.
Obviously we talked about it last week, so I don't want to go too much into it. But overall, I think The Shining could be a kind of Halloween rewatch date night movie. I don't think it was for us. Like, I can't see us ever watching it again.
Well, I think it's one of the watches that you can fall asleep to.
Yeah.
Like, I find that there's just not enough substance going on in the like middle half of the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's all like pretty much pushed to the end. Like you've got all your weird like warnings kind of from that. Who's the black guy? What's his name?
I forget his name.
That he has The Shining as well, and he talks
Yeah.
to Danny at the beginning. He's a hero. He talks to Danny at the beginning, and there's all these like weird, creepy like pre-warnings, I guess. And then there's just like it's just the awkward, like slow. Everyone's getting slowly depressed.
Yeah.
Johnny's getting weird.
His name's not Johnny.
I know.
Wait, I
His
said the
name's Jack.
kid's name was. Oh yeah, you're right.
Danny.
His name's Jack.
Yeah.
The kid's name's Danny.
So Jack's going crazy, you know.
Yeah.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
I think the last half hour of The Shining is a perfect Halloween rewatch.
Yeah.
Like, to rewatch it from the beginning every year.
It's slow,
I
in
think,
my opinion.
Well, and not even slow, but I just feel like
It's so long.
it's long and it just doesn't have the same vibes the whole way through. Like, that ending.
Yeah.
But the other weird thing, too, is that, like, it takes place during Christmas, so it doesn't really have fall vibes.
True.
But
yeah.
it's such a classic that I think it kind of, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it should
Yeah.
still be on the list. Like, if anyone really is using this as a list, I don't
Yeah.
know. We're basically just talking about movies. But,
And you talked about Dr. Sleep and stuff in your other podcast, but like just for my opinion, like I really liked Dr. Sleep.
Me
It
too.
definitely isn't a horror movie in my opinion. It's definitely like got Stranger Things vibes, which Stranger Things is good to watch.
I was just
on
going to say,
winter.
all of Stranger Things would be
Yeah.
perfect for
Perfect,
this.
Yeah,
what we're
and you
talking
guys
about.
know why. Like we don't need to explain it.
Yeah, Stranger Things is great. So.
Yeah, but like Dr. Sleep has those Stranger Things kind of like sci-fi. I hate that I keep saying vibes, but like I don't like atmosphere. I guess
The purpose of this episode is to basically just talk about vibes.
It's true,
So
it's
we
true,
have
yeah,
to talk
fair
about vibes, yeah.
Yeah, so Dr. Sleep was great. Not what I expected, but I'm kind of happy that it wasn't what I expected because, like you said, I would have been really disappointed if it was like, oh, now Danny's gonna kill his children and it's a curse that everyone who stays at the hotel has that same fate. I wouldn't have liked it, so I like that they made it a little bit different, but still with nods to the first movie.
For sure.
So yeah.
So I kind of want to jump back. I mean, I want to jump back. We kind of transitioned off of our first topics a little quickly, but there's some stuff from that I still want to touch on. So first of all, about like kids movies, I would be remiss, and here's the thing. We recently watched Halloween Town.
Yes.
I can't recommend that as in...
You're gonna get wrecked.
I understand...
Again,
it's a classic...
we didn't grow up with it.
I've seen it on Disney Channel in parts or whatever, but like, I don't know. It to me, even like Nightmare Before Christmas doesn't quite work either as a movie that really holds your attention. But Nightmare Before Christmas has such high highs in terms of like good, like scary, spooky. Like that's I guess the thing. Nightmare Before Christmas is truly spooky in parts. So even when it gets kind of dumb, it doesn't matter because soon enough you'll come up to a spooky part. Halloween Town for me is such a Disney Channel original movie that like as an adult, like us every year looking for movies to watch around this time, I could never watch it again. I don't think it just doesn't hold up in that way for me at all.
Yeah, I gotta agree there. Like my only memories of watching it as a child were like, so I used to live in Belle River, and I remember like we would be going to visit my mama and Pepe or something, and it was like on TV while like before we were gonna leave. So I never like really sat down and watched all the movies and finished them, like start to finish. But so we watched it recently as adults, and I fell asleep during it. If I'm being brutally honest, I was tired but also bored. It was just very like childish.
And not in a fun way. Like,
yeah, like, and not to be judgy. Like, if you love it, you love it. But it just wasn't my taste. It was just very, like, silly. Silly is, like, the best word. Goofy is the word I could use to describe it. Like
the little nerdy brother who's like, oh, well, actually. And it's like,
and she's
oh,
like, no, but I am a witch. I just know it. And it's like, okay. And even just down to, like, the ghouls and the ghosts in Halloween Town.
Yeah.
It's just... Like I said, if you don't grow up with this type of movie, you don't get it as an adult. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I get Nightmare Before Christmas, which proves Tim Burton's genius because I didn't grow up with it, but I love it now.
Yeah, because there's genuinely some spooky stuff in that movie.
Genuinely,
like, regardless of age. Yeah.
And it's funny. Like, I just found Halloween Town was just, like, like I said, typical like goofy, silly Disney Channel movie.
Yeah.
So I just have no interest in even watching the sequels to that. And again, no hate to anyone who loves those movies. Like I said, I just never grew up with them, so they don't hit the same.
Yes.
Like, you know, watching in a Halloween episode of Wizards of Waverly Place would hit for me because I grew up watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I built relationships
like
with the characters and stuff, but just not worth it as an adult to like delve into that whole franchise.
Totally agree. And I just wanted to put this in here because I know that's such a staple on some people's list. It would be weird if we didn't address it. And again, like, if this is your Star Wars, in the sense that, like, I grew up with Star Wars, no one can convince me that those 3 Star Wars movies are bad. I will always love those movies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people our age who watch them and are like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
These are so silly. But, you know, that's if Halloween Town is that for you, that's awesome.
Or if you even just saw it recently and decided you like it, no shame. These are just our opinions. Like, I don't want to seem judgmental on people's tastes.
Listen, I have gone way harder in hate towards movies on this podcast. I just feel bad
because you know what? Like, everyone has their own taste, and I know my mom for sure Halloween Town would be right up her alley because she can't handle anything a little scary.
Sure.
But just not mine. Like I've always said, I don't like the ghouls and the ghosts of scary movies. Like, I'm not interested in Paranormal Activity. I'm not interested in, like, anything, like, even Insidious. Everyone loves those movies, but I found them not great because of, like, there's one scene I remember in one of them where it's literally, like, a bunch of, like, ghost brides, like approaching this character in a very, like, silly way, and it's just not my taste. I really like the psychological thrillers, the upsetting, unsettling, like even Silence of the Lambs we can talk about.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. One thing I want to point out, because you were talking about not really liking, like, ghost movies. I generally don't either, and what I think it comes down to, I just don't like jump scares. Like, I don't find jump scares enjoyable in a... Like, I think what this is, when we're saying spooky... Yeah. It's more about, again, the way that you feel. It's about the tone. It's about kind of a consistent feeling throughout the movie. And I think the problem with a lot of ghost movies is that, like, we're not going to talk about the paranormal type stuff because it's all reliant on jump scares until the end where a lot of crazy shit happens.
There's no substance to them.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
all repetitive. Like, I don't know how many paranormal activities there are. I know there's plenty, but all of them gotta be the same format, right? A family's in a house and they have hidden cameras set up and they catch stuff on those cameras and it progressively gets worse. It's like just not my taste. I like the movies that make you uncomfortable even days after. I don't know why. It must be like a self-hating thing that I love them so much.
But this is what we were talking about earlier.
It makes you, like, I like the psychological aspect of things. Like, relatability.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but I do think there's something to be said for, specifically with us, like, if you're talking about, like, fall kind of Halloween date movies, like, I don't think you want something that has so many peaks and valleys. I think you're looking for something that you can go in and out of. And
you don't want to poop your pants on a date, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to jump scare, poop your pants, and then it makes everything awkward.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly it. What were you going to transition to?
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs, yeah, I think that probably falls in this category.
Well, we saw it recently, and it felt Halloween-y.
Yeah, it felt Halloween. I feel like at the end, is it fall when she goes to the house or whatever? For some reason, I pictured that house during the fall. Yeah, it's an amazing movie. I don't know if we can say anything new that's not been said about it. Yeah. Like, it's just incredible performances, incredibly written, incredibly directed. Disturbing, but on that disturbing level of just a consistent tone.
Even, like, the relationships, again, like I said, like, who's the, I almost said Buffalo Bill.
Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter. He, like, even his relationship with the main reporter girl, Clarice. Oh, yeah. I always think of her name because of, like, oh my gosh, Rudolph and Clarice, his girlfriend.
Oh my god, I didn't even put that together.
So, because my dog has a Clarice toy, and we always, like, will say, Clarice. She thinks I'm cute. But anyway, so Clarice, like, he cares about her. Like, he tries to protect her. Like, he literally convinces Miggs to kill himself because he...
I'm sorry, you forgot Hannibal Lecter and Clarice, but you remembered Miggs?
Yes, because I just remember him saying Miggs so many times.
Oh god, okay.
Was it Miggs?
Yeah.
Miggs, yeah. He convinced him to kill himself because he, to put it lightly, came on her.
Yeah.
While she was visiting them. So, yeah, like, when he genuinely cares about her, he doesn't come kill her. He, like, just lets her know, hey, I'm vacationing. I'm gonna go have some friends for dinner at the end.
Yeah.
And play on words there. Clever boy.
I gotta meet an old friend for dinner.
Yes.
Good times. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be said that hasn't been said.
Yeah,
I think
great.
if you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Yeah.
And even if you have seen it, I think it's worth putting on a date night rewatch list. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good times all the way around. I have a few more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about, we talked about Nightmare Before Christmas. I want to talk about just Tim Burton.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you can really go wrong with a Tim Burton movie for this
No.
category. And I'll tell you why. And maybe we'll do a full Tim Burton episode one day.
Yeah, you actually should. We gotta cover Sweeney Todd.
Well, we can talk
The
about Sweeney Todd
music,
today.
oh.
Because here's the thing, right? The thing about Tim Burton movies, all of them, is that I don't know if there's any one of them that from start to finish, it works the entire time. I don't think there is. Whether it's the Batman movies, whether it's Sweeney Todd, whether it's Nightmare, whether it's Edward Scissorhands. I haven't seen that in a long time, so I don't
That's
want
a
to
good
talk
one.
about too much.
Yeah.
But the thing about his movies is that they all have such a specific feel to them, and that feel is, I think, what we're talking about when we talk about Perfect Day Night. It is that. That is the quintessential thing. So you look at something like what I want to talk about right now, which is Sweeney Todd, which we recently watched, mostly because there's that scene in The Office where Andy...
The Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Yeah, and we always used to laugh at that.
That song's not even in the movie.
No, it's in the stage play. It's not in the movie.
Yeah.
But then, like, the Sweeney Todd movie came to Netflix, and it's a classic Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton directing Sweeney Todd, starring Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is quintessential Tim. And also, Sacha Baron Cohen is in it, which is hilarious. He plays another barber. But yeah, I mean, I think that's perfect because we were kind of in and out of that. We watched it over the span of like 3 days because we kept just like pausing it and doing like hanging out with other people. But I think it perfectly fits this. It feels like a spooky movie. There are spooky parts to it for sure. But it isn't... Well, I don't want to say it isn't disgusting. There's some weird stuff.
It's definitely got some shock value.
It does, but I think that's okay.
It makes it, honestly. For me, it was like, I thought it was going to be a silly, like, Edward Scissorhands is, like, creepy, but not, like, scary.
Yeah.
Like, Sweeney Todd was scary. Like, honestly, the murder and the messed up twist at the end where he finds out his wife's still alive and she's the town crazy person, which I predicted from the very beginning.
You did. I didn't believe you. I was like, that's a stupid twist.
I was like, why are they focusing on this woman that you can't see her face, like, so much? Anyways, one thing, the scariest part of Sweeney Todd was the music. Now, I don't know who wrote the songs for Sweeney Todd.
She's like a famous musical person.
And I figured, so I was hesitant to say something, but it just didn't work. Like, there just was not a single, like, song that sounded like a song. Yeah. Like, it was very much just, like, talking, but with a singing voice.
Yeah, it's all that just dialogue done through song, but not in a way where the songs are interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all just kind of,
And the tones never matched. Like, it would be a very, like, sensitive, like high-pitched song while they're murdering someone. And maybe that was what they were going for, but it just, like, put this, like, uncomfortable... Remember?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He was, like, singing that, like, high-pitched ballad while he's, like, killing someone. It's like, okay... And it wasn't like, it didn't add to the creepiness. It subtracted from it.
Yeah, we just felt weird.
It brought you back to reality almost, where you were like,
back to reality.
Oh, God, how many times did I say that?
I don't know.
But, it just, the music kind of ruined some of it for me because it was constant. It was like, okay, let's get some substance here without a song for once.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is perfect. Anytime a song comes on, go up and get another snack. That's all you gotta do.
True.
Come back when the song's done. Enjoy the feeling of Sweeney Todd. Oh my God, Joanna.
They sing that song like 6 times.
I know. It's like the main song of the movie.
Jesus,
it's so
I would
sad.
hate if my name was Joanna.
Oh my God.
Me
too. I would also
that
hate
song.
That. But so Sweeney Todd, and I just think you can't really go wrong with Tim Burton or anything. I guess, like, influenced in that style, because there's a lot of stuff that's in that style that's not technically by him. Like, I'm going to shout out one of my favorite kids' movies, when I was a kid, was James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't think is made by Tim Burton.
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure it's, like, maybe it's produced by him or something, but it's not actually made by him. But that to me would also qualify because it has that same.
No, it is. I'm stupid. I'm looking. So James and the Giant Peach, 1996, was Tim Burton.
Click on it. Click on the. Sorry, we're doing some research right now. People,
yeah.
I hate to do it because he could have just produced it.
Yeah,
he didn't direct it. Oh yeah, he produced it.
Yeah, he produced it.
Okay, so he's involved in it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that one would also be on this, and you know I would say that he has a lot of stuff. I know even like what's like Frankenweenie and stuff like that. Corpse Bride, that's him, right? Like he's done so much, like all that stuff. You guys know it. It's in his style.
He's done Dumbo.
Well, I do not count Dumbo.
I didn't like Dumbo.
Dumbo might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that on another.
Oh my god, can we just do a separate Dumbo podcast where we rip on that movie?
Dumbo was dumb. Yeah, Frankenweenie.
Awful. Yeah, Frankenweenie and all that
Beetlejuice.
Good stuff.
We haven't actually watched that together.
Beetlejuice is a classic. Yeah, that's another absolutely that goes on this list. You have to do Beetlejuice. Are you kidding me? That's an absolute classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something I want to point out, you brought up like Midsommar, which was your one thing. So for me, something I want to talk about right now is a movie called Reanimator.
Yeah. So
Reanimator is a classic like B movie. It is like the quintessential low budget, silly, like
or The Room.
Gore. No. The Room is just
The Room is in a separate category.
The Room is its own category of movie. I don't even know. This is a B movie. It's a low budget attempt at making a horror movie. And this one is very gross and very violent. The plot is basically this guy who is trying to develop the serum to bring living things back from the dead. And he kind of goes to this new college. He gets this roommate. He starts testing it on animals and stuff. Eventually ends up testing it on a person. There's also this weird plot where there's like this head of the university who falls in love with someone's daughter. And this movie's not for the faint of heart. It is.
I want to watch it. We
can watch it. It's incredibly gory. Gory. And there is some weird sex stuff in this movie.
Is there?
I'm just going to put that out there.
Isn't that like, what's that one other movie that's like just weird? I know there's something to do with milk. We've never watched it because you said it was kind of boring, but,
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Like that classic weird...
You keep looking this up.
Okay,
I'll talk about
look it up.
Reanimator. Yeah, but Reanimator, I mean, it's... I think despite all the gore and all that weird content stuff, like, for me... It has that level of, because it's a B movie, everyone is overacting. Everyone is being cheesy. The whole thing is filmed very cheesy. Even though there's gross stuff, it's all like gross stuff in bright colors. And the whole thing comes together and it is like a classic B horror movie. I don't think this would be good for everyone. It's an incredibly hard R rating. And if you're not into horror movies, if you're more of the like Nightmare Before Christmas, Tim Burton type spooky movies, then I definitely wouldn't recommend this. But if you are into horror movies, like genuinely into horror movies, and you haven't seen this, I would watch it. It's really weird, but it's fun, and fun. You guys are going to watch this movie and think I'm a sociopath. I think it's worthwhile.
Okay, so I cannot think of the name of it. Clockwork Orange.
Oh, Clockwork Orange.
I haven't seen that. Have you seen that?
Well, here's the thing. I have...
People always say it's so messed up.
I talked last week about my relationship with Stanley Kubrick a little bit.
Okay.
Which is just that he is a very good director that makes movies where I always feel disconnected from.
Okay.
And I think the hardest part for me with a horror movie is like you have to be connected to it. Otherwise, if there's even one layer of not being connected to it, it's like you're not getting anything out of it. And Clockwork Orange is it's great and it's beautiful looking and it is weird, but it's not really a horror movie. It's like a sci-fi. And also there is that layer of disconnect of Kubrick being Kubrick and doing lots of cool filmmaking stuff, which I can appreciate or whatever. And I saw it and I'm glad I saw it, but I would not like recommend that if we were to watch like a spooky movie one night. It's not spooky. It's just like
weird.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like
on the topic of weird.
Sure.
We have to talk about 2 more movies.
Okay, I have one in my head. I don't know if it's the one you do.
Okay,
go.
What's yours?
Suspiria?
No, shit. But Suspiria, we gotta talk about that. Okay, we have to do like a speed round because Gerald's Game.
Well, we're only an hour in. We can do another half. We're good.
Right. Gerald's Game and It. How did we forget about it?
Yeah, okay, we gotta talk about this. Okay, well let's do Suspiria quick. Vivarium. We should talk about
Vivarium. Shit, yeah. Oh fuck.
You remember before we started this when you were like, what if we don't have stuff to talk about?
Yeah, well, because I forgot I could look on my phone and look up movies, because I just didn't have a list prepared.
So let's talk about Suspiria. Suspiria is a classic 1970s movie.
Yeah, about this.
Made by a famous 1970s like horror director named Dario Argento, Italian horror director. The 1970s movies are really cheesy, kind of silly. It's about this
beautiful. It's very just aesthetic.
Exactly, it's beautiful looking. It's about this girl that goes to like a dance academy and weird stuff happens.
It's like a cult or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Recently, I think 2017, they remade it starring Tilda Swinton. Dakota Johnson, who I know people hate her from 50 Shades, but she is incredible in this movie. She's an incredible woman. She is a really good actress. I feel bad that her big break was 50 Shades. It's kind of like Robert Pattinson with Twilight.
Oh yeah,
it's like, dude,
incredible
you could do
actor,
so much
situation.
more. Exactly. Yeah, and the remake is fantastic. It's really good, and it's gripping, and it is spooky the whole way through. But then every once in a while, it gets interjected with like some of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there's one scene, and if you haven't seen it,
I don't even want to. Do you want to spoil this one?
I'll spoil it.
Okay, you are really just gone into it.
Well, it's like they've had a few years now to catch up on it, right? So, but there's one scene where, like, okay, so basically the plot, from what I understand, because it's still very confusing to me.
Yeah.
There's like some mother, dead person under the dance academy, right?
Yes.
And she, like, needs to feel the dance to, like...
Be revived?
to be revived or, like, conduct, like, ceremonies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The dances are ceremonies that revive the mother, whatever. Or whatever she's called. What is she called? The,
Mother...
No, the,
Suspiria...
Yeah, like, no, but what was the word that they...
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you can.
They
continue.
like nominated people for it.
Yeah. I forget what the word is.
So there's one scene where this one dancer, she like quits the academy because she thinks it's bullshit, and she like storms out. But then she like keeps going down the stairs and like not getting anywhere, and then she ends up in this room of mirrors, and oh my god! So Dakota Johnson's doing this dance upstairs. This girl is in the mirror room downstairs. I guess the ritual room. And as Dakota Johnson's dancing, she's like contorting this poor girl in ways that like I feel uncomfortable even thinking about.
Yeah.
Like she
it's
just
disgusting.
Gets absolutely wrecked. And it's horrifying, and it's right at the beginning, so you really get the tone set for the rest of the movie, because then you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
The rest of the movie's kind of slow, but like still interesting, and then the end of the movie is just a shitstorm of what the fuck.
Yeah.
Like at the end, I was laughing because the big ceremony at the end was just so ridiculous. Like people are dying, there's naked people everywhere. It's typical like
there's heads exploding.
Yeah, it's typical like this weird, crazy, culty ceremony. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like with the naked people and the blood and.
Yeah.
But like the plot of the movie was good.
I think so. I think, I mean, just it's one of those things where it's a remake of the original, but it does what a remake should do. Like it takes the core elements, it modernizes it and adapts it and actually improves it.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Because the first one was like a B movie. It was like Reanimator style, silly, and this one was like. No, this is going to be a genuinely horrific and also just like well-made movie.
Yeah.
If anyone, I've called out this YouTube channel before, but Red Letter Media, Dan and I have both talked about them a lot on this podcast. They do lots of movie reviews and stuff. And they have like a sub-series of their channel called Review, where they like watch movies, like older movies, and then talk about them. And so they did a two-parter where they talked about the original Suspiria and then the new Suspiria. And it's a really interesting breakdown.
Yeah.
And if you're interested at all, I would say either watch it and then watch those YouTube videos, or maybe watch the YouTube videos first just to see if it would be something that interests you. Because I can't really... This is such a... Like, I could never recommend this movie to someone because I don't... It's so weird and specific, I don't know how people would react to it.
Yeah,
even my best friends. Like, I don't know if I could say, hey, Dan, you would like this movie. And I know him better than anyone in terms of movie taste.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's definitely, like... Even, like, my dad, he's really into horror movies and stuff. But I think if I showed him... Suspiria, because I showed him Lighthouse, which you haven't seen.
No.
I'm going to talk about it quick. It stars Robert Pattinson. It's about like these guys who are
and William Dafoe,
lighthouse keepers. Yeah.
The Green Goblin himself.
Yeah. They're like lighthouse keepers. There's a cast of like 2 people like in the whole movie besides this weird mermaid creature that Robert Pattinson has sex with. It's just, and I personally didn't find it scary. It was just kind of weird, and my dad hated it. He hated me for making him watch it, so I feel like he would hate me for making him watch Suspiria. It's hard, like it's not like The Boy as clear cut where I'm like, no, anybody will be shocked by this.
Yeah.
Everyone will be shocked by Suspiria, but maybe not in the best way.
Yeah, not in a good way.
Oh my god, yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it was fun. Definitely like the beat. So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's maybe talk about some Stephen King stuff. Some more Stephen King stuff. We already talked about.
Okay.
So last week, Dan and I briefly touched on Mike Flanagan, who directed both Dr. Sleep and Gerald's Game.
Okay.
So he's really, and what we said was he's really good at adapting Stephen King work. And we were specifically talking about Dr. Sleep, but this will be fun. We can actually talk about Gerald's Game, which personally I think is an incredible, like, horror spooky movie. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you on the same page? I feel like you didn't like it as much as me.
So I'll give the quick plot rundown.
Why do you get to do the plot?
Because I never get to be on this podcast.
Okay,
so you
fine.
got to give me
ahead.
my moment to shine for
right.
like 5 seconds. So Gerald's Game's about this couple that's having like marital problems, and they go on this like little, as one does, of course, they go into the middle of nowhere to this little cottage to try to reconnect and get kinky and whatever. And while they're there, like, he obviously does the classic move of handcuffs, because of course in a horror movie you're handcuffing someone, and that's
not just handcuffs, like handcuffing her
to the bed frame,
like on opposite ends of the bedpost. Yeah.
So that when you know it's a horror movie and it's starting off with handcuffing someone to the bed, you know it's going to take a turn.
Yeah.
So anyways, they're getting down, and he has a heart attack on top of her, falls and dies on top of her. And as we said, she's handcuffed to the bed. So she cannot help him or move herself or remove herself from the situation. So it's basically just the whole movie is like her trying to get out of that situation. And there's weird things happening on the side. Like there's that weird ghost man who stands in the corner of the room.
Yeah, well, every night she thinks she's seeing someone standing in the room, but she doesn't know if he's actually there or not.
Oh,
or
yeah,
she's just going crazy.
Yeah, she does talk to him, but we don't know if it's his
like
ghost
it could be in her head. And then also, like, we're seeing flashbacks to her, like, trauma as a younger child with, I think, her stepfather.
I don't remember.
Remember, like, during the eclipse, there's, like, weird stuff that happens with her and her stepfather.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I think it was her dad.
Oh, okay. That's even worse.
Yeah.
So you don't like this movie?
See, it's not, like, memorable for me. Like, I don't, like, the whole middle of the movie where she's just handcuffed to the bed, there's not really much going on. It's just, like, trial and error of trying to get out of the handcuffs. And then at nighttime, of course, weird stuff happening. Like a wolf or a dog, or...
It's a wolf.
A wolf enters the room but doesn't kill her. Like, it's just, like, kind of weird. And then, like, at the very end, she goes to, like... Isn't she in trial? And it's that creepy guy who was standing in her room?
Yeah, and he's a real person.
But he never actually killed her. Like, I didn't really understand the plot, because was it about her and this creepy man? Or, like, it was just a happy accident, right? That this man came into her room and never killed her, and it didn't relate to the plot of the movie.
Well, here's the thing.
What?
I think the man is supposed to be a metaphor for her trauma.
Is it?
Yeah, and here's the thing, and like to Mike Flanagan as a director, and here's the problem, right? Is like, you know, anytime you adapt a book into a movie, it's difficult because books can have a lot more conceptual elements in them, and movies have to be very literal in the way they play out, unless you're doing like an experimental film. And what I like about like Mike is his ability to like look at a Stephen King thing and really like carve out the parts that need to be there and how he's going to show them. And this movie did work for me. I totally get like why it wouldn't work for I'm not going to say it's for everyone.
It just wasn't enough action for me.
See, but for me, and like we're sitting across right now of a monitor that has like the Starship Enterprise on it. Yeah. I love stuff where it's someone stuck in a situation and they're just trying to get out.
I hate
like
it.
That is my favorite. It's just like a person trying to figure their way through something. So I thought, like, when the husband dies, I was like, wow, this is like the most interesting movie premise of all time.
It isn't. Yeah, I'll say it's unique. Like I wouldn't have predicted something like that.
Yeah,
I knew something was gonna go wrong, but
yeah, and I like how you have the two timelines of like her past trauma. Like it cuts between her like in the present day and her past trauma, and I think that at first seems like a really weird thing to be cutting back and forth to, but then as the movie goes on and you kind of realize that her being stuck to the bed is also in and of itself almost like a metaphor for where she is in her life, and she has to kind of like deal with her past trauma before she can not be stuck anymore. And then like while she's dealing with her past trauma at night in the present time, she's seeing visions of like this person that she doesn't know if it's real or not, and at the end of the movie, like it turns out it is a real monster, but she like confronts him. Remember, she goes to the courtroom and she's like, I'm not afraid of you anymore, which I am like. So I think the whole thing is just supposed to be kind of a really broad metaphor for kind of past trauma and how it can affect you. And I mean, even that aside, just like if you don't want to do that reading into it, just the horror movie elements and just the I don't know if it's not really spooky, but just like it being interesting as a horror movie, I thought it was good. But then like you add that other stuff into it and it's like, oh, this is just a well-made movie that I think I could recommend to most people. I think it's pretty solid. I just, before we move on, because we gotta talk about it.
I think we should end on that note.
What, can I say one more thing about this
Oh,
movie?
no, yeah, I meant like we should end on it. Because if we could keep talking forever about scary
Well, okay,
movies
then let's talk about... Okay, let me finish this. Let's talk about Vivarium.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And then maybe we can talk about it. I don't know if I really have anything major...
I don't have a ton to say. I mean, everyone gets it. Everyone's read those books.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me just say this. In regards to Gerald's Game, also, just the cast, because Bruce Greenwood plays the husband, and I forget her name, but it's the mom from Spy Kids. Is it Carla? I think it's Carla something.
I think you're thinking Carla because of Carlos and Spy.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Carla.
Okay, let me look up.
Look up Mom from Spy Kids. They're the husband and wife in this, and they are both such good actors. And
oh, you're right. Carola Gugino?
Guccino, I think.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
she's great. She's a really incredible
Henry
actress.
Thomas from Haunting of Hill House, and Kate Siegel too.
Yeah, I think they're in the flashbacks.
Haunting of Hill House cast is in every freaking horror movie, I swear.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so I like this, and
I like this.
I think it's good, and maybe not for everyone, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vivarium.
Vivarium.
Can I stop?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Vivarium, on TikTok, my For You page, there will be like TikToks occasionally of people talking about like the most, like recommending the most messed up horror movies and stuff, because the algorithm is that intense, or that, what's the word? Why can't I think of words? Is that specific, I guess, that it knows that that's what I'm into. So I kept seeing people recommend Vivarium, and they were saying like it was the most messed up, it's so disturbing, so freaky, whatever. And so I was like, okay, so I have to watch it naturally. And so we've scoured the internet for it. We couldn't really find it it was obviously not on Netflix. We couldn't find it on Prime TV, right? We had to rent it on Prime TV. No, I rented it, yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't like there for streaming. We had to rent it, but so we did that. And it basically is... So I always... Marco hates me when I say this because it's just stupid, but I hate mazes. I hate the...
Oh my god, you and mazes.
Idea behind mazes. I hate the stress that comes with it. Like, I just don't find getting stuck in a situation that you have to find your way out of, like, entertainment. So this movie was great for me because it's basically this young couple, and they're looking to get their first like starter home together, and so they go shopping at this like new suburb where all the houses look the same, and it's supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be like your perfect home. And so there's this creepy real estate agent who's just like, we know something's off because of him. He's just awkward.
Yeah.
And he takes them to show them house number 9, I remember. And
my favorite number.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, they get there, and the real estate agent just disappears, and so they try to drive away and get out of the neighborhood and leave the situation, and they just keep going in circles. They keep ending up at house 9. basically we find out that they're just stuck there. They can't exit this neighborhood. They are stuck there now. And they keep receiving weird packages, like of food that has no flavor, just basically the stuff to keep them alive. And then one day they get...
Wait.
What?
I just want to say, I specifically don't want to spoil this one.
Oh, okay.
Here's why. Because the other movies have been out for a very long time.
No, but I was going to say that they get a baby delivered to
yes.
them, too.
Yeah. But so, yeah, that's kind of very early in the first act.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the rest of this because I think it's... More people should see this movie. I'm very sad that this movie kind of came and went. It's really weird and creepy, and like most horror movies, it kind of falls apart a little bit right at the end. It kind of gets a little too silly.
Yeah.
But I think it's well worth the watch.
It's woke.
It is very woke.
It definitely has like a message that like...
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can say this. I don't think it's spoiling to say this, right? But the movie's essentially just a metaphor for like suburbia and like
modern life,
being stuck in your life and what it does to you. But I think it's a really good movie. It's a really well-made movie. The performances are really good again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh my god. I mean,
the one actor who plays the kid, if you watch it, you'll know what I mean. It's just very annoying.
And also, like, the dad is played by Jesse Eisenberg, and I have a very complicated relationship with Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Because The Social Network is my favorite movie, and he's great in The Social Network. And he's also very good in this other movie called The Squid and the Whale by Noah Baumbach, who made Marriage Story.
Okay.
He's very good in that. But anytime I've ever seen him in anything else, I just want to punch him in the face. And I don't know why. Seems like a very nice guy. He kind of
plays the dopey, like, side character oftentimes, doesn't he?
Except in the DC movies when he played frickin' Lex Luthor.
Oh, what? I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you're lucky you didn't see it. I had to see it many times.
Sorry.
Anyway, but he's good in this. I can add this to my list of seeing him in a movie and not hating him. He does a good performance in this. He's really the only, I think, like, famous person.
Yeah, I would say. There's only like 5 cast members, really.
It's more of an indie film, except like it kind of like he gave it notoriety because he's famous. And I think it's a good call by him.
It definitely has indie film, again, vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to end this off, we already said we're going to talk about it. But since we've talked about a lot of Stephen King stuff, one thing I want to talk about, I jotted down like an hour ago because I didn't want to forget it, is The Mist.
Okay.
Do you remember The Mist?
Isn't it when they're in that like grocery store and then... Okay, so I've seen it, but I was very young, so I don't remember seeing the whole thing.
When I first saw this movie, it has the most controversial ending to a movie pretty much ever.
Really?
Yeah. And this is another one I'm not going to spoil because if you haven't seen it...
well, you'd be spoiling for me too because I want to see it now.
Okay, we should watch it. The premise of the movie is, it's written by Stephen King, so of course it's about a writer who can't write and has problems because that's all he likes to write about. So it's about this writer who's living in this town, and one day this mist rolls in while he's at a grocery store, and weird stuff starts happening outside, and he gets locked in a grocery store with a whole cast of characters. And it's very, it's one of those things of like you're isolated and at first people are helping each other, but then people turn on each other, and it's all about kind of like humanity sucks. But there's also, like, it's like a sci-fi, and there's, like, weird... Like, there's legitimately creatures outside. Like, the mist isn't just a metaphor to, like, learn about humanity. There is danger outside. And it all kind of builds and builds and builds, and then it gets to this ending that... I remember the first time I watched it, I was with my good friend Greg at the time, and he was like, you have to see this movie because it has the worst ending I've ever seen in my life. And so we kind of watched it as a joke, and I got to the end, and... we were in grade school at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, what a dumb ending. But coming back to it as an adult, it kind of slaps a little bit. It's so messed up, and I just think it falls, very nicely into that category of being messed up, but not necessarily being gory. It's more just the feeling of it that's really kind of messed up. I don't know. Listen, would it be great for a date? Probably not. To be honest with you, because the ending is so depressing, I can't imagine having to continue a date after that. But I think...
Oh, God.
I think if you're in a healthy, long-term relationship where, you're just going to fall asleep after the movie and who cares about having fun, then you can probably watch this because it's very depressing, but very good.
That's kind of like, what is that movie we watched recently, and it was about like this girl. She gets like her car gets hit, and then she's at this guy's house, and it's like his bunker. And
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh yeah, 10 Cloverfield. So, oh shit, I just thought of another movie too from that. I'm
The
thinking
original
of ending things.
Oh, I'm thinking of
but
ending
I don't
things.
like it. I'm thinking of ending. I didn't like it. So maybe we just won't talk about it.
I think I can talk about this with Dan and Carol.
Okay, yeah.
It's a very filmy
movie.
It's a very cinema movie.
Yes,
and
cinema.
I don't think I loved it either. I don't think
I know
Carol
of people
loved
who
it.
love
I
it.
don't think Dan. I don't think Dan's seen it, but I don't think Carol liked it. But I don't want to put words in her mouth. We'll talk about it one day.
Anyways.
But yeah.
So The Mist reminded me of 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's on Netflix, I believe, right? That's where we watched it.
We watched it on Netflix.
So it's basically like I won't spoil it because it's pretty new, right?
10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah.
No, it's probably like 5 years at this point.
Oh, okay. So, well, basically, this girl gets hit in a car accident. Like, she gets run off the road by this car, and she's pretty messed up. So then she ends up at this guy's house, and he's, like, taking care of her. But, like, they're in a bunker, like, his bunker. And he's convincing her that there's, like, shit. Like, there's this... The air quality is horrible and toxic outside, so people are dying, and there's no one else alive in their city, and it's just them, and she needs to stay in the bunker to be safe. And basically the whole movie's just like her trying to decide if she believes him or not. And like you find out that he definitely is a creep in some ways, but he also has truth behind what he's saying. Because at the end it's very sci-fi, and it's kind of depressing in the sense that like he was right. Like I kind of wanted her to escape and be like free.
Yes.
But she wasn't really free.
You know what? You're totally right. Yeah. And it is actually very Mist vibes if you've ever seen
exactly.
The Mist.
Yeah, because it's like the what's outside.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is something outside, which is sad because when she finally escapes her captor, who like was trying to kill her at one point anyway, she's just faced with another challenge. So it's kind of like exhausting almost.
Yes.
You don't get that like relief at the end. At least if a character dies, they have some sort of a relief, but she's still alive and has to fight whatever aliens or whatever's going on outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's just another side rant. That one's okay for a date, but like The Mist, it's kind of like upsetting and kind of stressful.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
Kind of ruins your night.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the whole like deeper meaning or like relationships or anything that's like meaningful.
Yeah, or like fun.
Yeah, nothing fun.
Nothing fun.
Like it's fun.
It is very fun.
It is very fun.
We saw both It 1 and It 2 together in theaters. I feel like a lot of these movies we kind of watch after the fact, but these ones we actually saw in theaters together.
Yeah.
It 1, I think, really surprised the both of us.
It was fantastic. I know it got like some like hate.
It got really good reviews overall.
Yeah, but like some people were saying, you know, it's always the people who like read the books like 700 times that are like, actually, I don't like the movie because, and they list stupid reasons.
Yeah.
I liked the movie. Like as a horror fan, it was a great movie. It was very jump scary, but like, and you know, when you think of a movie with a clown.
Yeah.
Like beforehand, I was like, really? This like, how is this gonna scare me?
Yeah.
But it's scary. Like, one of the Skarsgårds,
Bill
Skarsgård, who plays it, like he does a really good job of being like a pedophile. Like he's not just like a scary clown. He's like a creepy pedophile. And obviously, there's scenes that were in the book that weren't in the movie. Thank God, more disturbing ones. But like even just the movie in and of itself, without that stuff, is scary. Like the jump scares are good, but also just like the meaning behind everything is good. Like even with what's her name, Barbara, or am I thinking?
I don't think it's Barb.
Oh my God, I'm so bad with names.
I can't remember.
I can't remember names. That's one thing is I sound like I'm uninformed, but I just truly can't remember names.
So one thing I'll say though, while you're looking up her name, I agree with you. There are a lot
Beverly.
of
I was
Beverly.
close.
Yeah. There's. What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like there are a lot of jump scares in this, but the jump scares for me are I don't even like when I think about this movie. I don't even think about the jump scares because the scariest parts are when like Pennywise the clown is there and just being Pennywise. It's horrifying. Like at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to the little boy, I forget what his name is.
He does the lip thing.
When he's like in the sewer talking to him, it is truly terrifying. And yeah, like it ends with like the big eating him or whatever.
Bill, yeah, I know it was
which is like silly, but for me, it's like the jump scare stuff is all silly, but everything around that is genuinely terrifying. Like, and his performance is incredible, and all the kids have such good chemistry together.
Oh my god, an amazing cast.
Amazing.
Honestly. Finn Wolfhard,
yeah,
Jack Grazer, Wyatt Oleff, like they are all together like amazing. So, and even just their characters, like their personalities, like of one of them being a hypochondriac, one of them being like a dirtbag, badmouth, like they were just so there was fun to it.
There is a lot of fun, and I want to point out 2 scenes in particular that like make me cry laugh.
Yeah.
And the first one is, well, it doesn't happen first in the movie, but it takes less to explain. So the first one I want to bring up is the hypochondriac, when he finds out he's taking pills that aren't actually for anything.
Gazebos?
Yeah, and he's talking to his mom, and he goes, "These aren't even pills, Mom. They're gazebos." And like
he said it with such confidence.
The confidence with which he said that is like the fun. And this kid's like 12 years old, and it's one of the best comedic line deliveries I've ever heard. Like there are like full-on adult actors who could have nailed that line the way he did.
Well, he's amazing. So.
And the other thing I want to mention that I didn't like really pick up on when we watched it together in theaters, but when I showed it to, I watched it with a bunch of like my group of friends. So me, Dan, Angelo, and then our friend Rob, who's never been brought up before. So I think this is the first appearance of Rob on this podcast. But when we watched it with Rob, there's the scene where the chubby kid, I forget what his name is.
Yeah, Ben.
Ben. He's getting tortured by the bullies, and they're holding him up like on a bridge.
Oh,
like
right.
against the bridge railing, and they're carving something into his stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Which is horrifying. But then...
Yeah, what kind of bullies were that, like in their town? Like what was in their water?
But then the most unintentionally funny thing ever happens, where he kicks off of one of the bullies and does like a backflip into the forest behind him.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's like, whoa. Like, why did this kid just turn into Batman?
Yeah.
And then they like chase him through the forest, and at one point when they come out of the forest and they're like in the creek, there's this fucking Mad Max overhead shot of him running with the guys chasing him from behind. Aww. And there's just like this Mad Max music behind it, and it turns into like a silly action movie for like a minute, and it's so funny. It shouldn't be that funny, but it's so funny to me. It makes me laugh so hard.
It is. It's like perfectly, like it's as equally funny as it is scary as it is meaningful. Like even with Beverly and her like her dad.
Oh
and, like,
God.
Like and how it will appear in like the forms of their biggest fears. So like the guy with leprosy or whatever.
That's right.
For the hypochondriac, and then the whatever. Yeah, so it's just it's a fun movie because there's just so much to it, and even just like the cast is incredible. So like doesn't Bill Hader play? Well,
but that's in the second one.
Oh, okay, we're talking. Yes, you're right. Yeah, so the first movie's great. It ends on a good note, which is usually nice. Yeah. But then there's the sequel.
Yeah, so I think the sequel is one of the most disappointing times I've ever had in a movie theater.
Really?
Because for me, it was like, you're coming off this amazing first movie. You have the same director, the same crew working on the second one. And then the adult cast that they got.
Amazing.
Like freaking Jessica Chastain as Bev. Yes. I was like, oh my God, that is fan fiction casting. And like Bill Hader as Finn Wolfhard's character. And like just this incredible adult cast. Oh my God, James McAvoy is in this movie. It's incredible. And then... It completely falls apart, and like it doesn't work, and maybe we'll talk about it more in depth one day, but like it really is such a letdown for me, and it was so frustrating. And I remember like leaving the theater, both of us, and being like, it was just so cheesy and so the opposite of what we thought of the original, like the first one. Like it was so silly, and not in like a silly way to offset the scary stuff. Like the first one had genuinely scary moments. I don't think there was one actually scary moment in the second one. Like Pennywise isn't creepy the way he's creepy in the first one, and the way they keep cutting back between the adults and the kids, it's like, I get it, I get why you're doing it, but at the same time, like the structure of it just doesn't really work. And also, like, the kids had aged up, but to make them look like how they did in the first movie, they, like, digitally de-aged them. And it's like, guys, they're 2 years older.
Yeah,
did we need to do that?
No.
Yeah, so it just doesn't work. And then, obviously, the ending. And I get it. Look, Stephen King is weird.
Yes.
And this movie ends with a giant spider. And remember he turns into a giant spider?
I gotta be honest, I do not remember how this movie ends.
Because it's stupid.
I struggle to remember the endings of movies, and this is just a thing that is known if you know me. I don't know why. I just like zone out, I guess, or I have like sensory overload at the end of movies that I just can't remember how they ended. But I don't remember how the second It movie ends. Like, if it doesn't end on a good note,
no,
I don't remember.
It ends on a stupid note. That's all I will say. And yeah, it's, you know, it's just so frustrating because the first one is so good and creative, and this one isn't.
Yeah. How does it end? Like, tell me.
I don't know. He turns into a giant spider. They kill him.
They kill him?
Yeah.
So it like ends his whole cycle of where he comes back every 34 years or whatever it is?
I guess. I don't know.
Ugh.
Ask Stephen King.
Oh, I would love to ask Stephen King.
I would be afraid to talk to Stephen King. What a weirdo.
He is strange. I love how he casts himself in his movies, though.
Well, I mean, he didn't do the casting, but he probably like asked to be in it.
Well, yeah.
He's probably like, guys, I need to be in a cameo in this, in a bike shop for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any honorable mentions? Any last minute rapid fire? Just you want to say the name, get the movie out there?
I'll say Haunting of Hill House. I mean, that's really popular right now. I haven't started Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
No, I finished the seasons that are there of.
Oh,
Haunting
is there
of
a
Hill
1 and 2 of Hill House and Bly Manor? Like, there's now.
No,
Bly
like
Manor?
I think there's 3 seasons of Hill
Oh
House.
my god! I thought there was only like. I'm so far
Maybe
behind.
I'm wrong. Let me look it up again. Haunting of Hill House. Yeah, so I watched all of Haunting of Hill House over quarantine as well. I definitely recommend it because it is like it's a good horror show. I've definitely struggled to find good horror shows, and I know that everyone pretty much likes Haunting of Hill House, but I don't love it. And again, I don't love it because of the ghouls and ghosts. Like, I don't like how there are genuinely, like, these ghouls and ghosts floating around. They're creepy, and I understand the symbolism of it being, like, their struggles in life, like addiction and whatever, but yeah, so Haunting of Hill House is good. I haven't seen Haunting of Bly Manor, but I heard it's good. It confuses me that they use a lot of the same cast, because I'm like, are we just pretending that Haunting of Hill House didn't happen and starting fresh, or is it a continuation? I don't know, but yeah.
Fun fact. We were talking about Mike Flanagan, who did like the Stephen King stuff. Like he did Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep. He directed Haunting of Hill House.
Well, he did a good job.
Yeah, he's good. I'm telling you, this guy, everyone, keep your eye out for this guy. Nice up and comer.
Yeah.
A rapid fire for me is going to be Misery. I don't know if you remember Misery. We watched it together. Misery, she's shaking her head no right now.
I have no memory of it.
Misery is directed by Rob Reiner. It is written by William Goldman, who everyone knows listening to this that I'm such a screenwriter nerd. William Goldman is kind of like the godfather of screenwriters. Like, Aaron Sorkin is my favorite screenwriter, and William Goldman is Aaron Sorkin's favorite screenwriter. Like, that, he is like the king. He won Oscars for Princess Bride, for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Anyway, he wrote Misery starring James Caan and Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates, a lot of you young whippersnappers might know from The Office as, what's her name, Jo?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really weird movie. It's a movie about this writer played by James Caan who is like driving somewhere, gets in an accident, and wakes up in this house where he's being taken care of by Kathy Bates, who's like a super fan. And it just goes from there, and it's really creepy. And, you know, I think I was kind of hoping this movie would age a little bit better than it did. Looking back on it now, it's a little cheesy, and I don't think any of it was really scary. But at the same time, I think it's like a classic, and there's a lot of classic, iconic moments in it. Pretty sure Kathy Bates was nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if she actually won it or not for Misery. And yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely an honorable mention. It has to be mentioned if we're talking about this stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I can't really, you know, and then obviously any spooky episodes of TV shows that you like, are always fun to watch.
Yeah, we do that around, like, especially around Christmas. We'll just watch all the Christmas episodes of The Office and New Girl and stuff just to get in the mood.
Yeah.
So there's of course Halloween episodes of The Office and New Girl and everything. So
I want to give a shout out to that episode of Zack and Cody with like the haunted picture. Do you remember, like in the hotel, the Sweet Life of Zack
weird
and Cody?
room, the room that was haunted. That was actually scary.
That was yeah. That's a good kid like scary thing.
Yeah.
I think that's good. And so that's gonna get a shout out from me. Yes, I think that pretty much concludes this. I think we talked about most of the stuff that we've watched together on dates and enjoyed watching. So I don't know, maybe some of you are listening and thinking, wow, you guys liked watching Hereditary on a date. But it is what it is. I think there are a lot of people that fall into that category that like to watch this kind of stuff. Yeah, so that is that. Okay, guys, so first of all, Madison, thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Feels interesting talking into this little thing that looks like the lamp at the beginning of Pixar movies.
Oh, my microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just going to quickly pimp you out for a second here. Everyone go to Maddie's Creations.
Oh, yeah. I have a...
.ca, I think.
Yeah, it's .ca.
Okay.
And I also have Instagram, Maddie's Creations _YQG. YQG is like the Windsor code. It's like your quick getaway or something. I just learned it when I started my small business. I didn't know until then.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so go there. If anyone else, whoever comes on this has anything worth talking about other than like just opinions, like definitely we'll shout out your stuff too. So thanks for being here. Anyone who's listening to this, I think our Dr. Sleep and Shining episode probably just came out before this, probably even just a few days. I think these are going to be pretty close to each other. So, at the end of that episode, we kind of teased this as well as potentially Gilmore Girls and a Friday the 13th. I think Friday the 13th will probably be just me and Dan. Maybe we can get Angelo involved, their friend Angelo. That'll be a treat for all you listeners if we can get Angelo to do this. But Gilmore Girls, I think, if I'm not speaking out of my butt here, will be our next episode. With definitely Karolina and I doing it. I don't know. Did you kind of talked about maybe wanting to be on the Gilmore Girls episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. I have years of experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're all big fans of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
We're all three of us are currently rewatching it right now.
Well, that's actually
anyway.
an honorable mention for this episode, too.
Yeah.
It's not spooky, but it definitely, like, for fall vibes, if you want a show to watch, Gilmore Girls is a go-to. Just because when Rory goes back to school, it has all the autumn, like, Halloween type energy. So, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So we'll see you guys probably be radio silence now until early November when we do that big Gilmore Girls episode, which I'm sure will be a long one because there's so much to talk about. Maybe 2 of us, maybe 3 of us, but one way or another, that'll be coming out. So get excited. Get some coffee prepared. Get some food from Luke's Diner. And just get hyped. Okay, Madison, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
See you
guys
later, folks.
Oh, and thanks for listening. And if you liked it, and feel free to subscribe and comment and all that stuff. And give us suggestions. We appreciate anyone who listens for any reason because there really isn't a reason to.